Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rethinking Recruiting Fireside Chat, powered by our friends at CoMeet. Today, we are talking about how to scale your global recruiting efforts. My name is Jessica Miller-Merrill, and I will be your moderator today. I'm excited to have you join us. This is an interactive session, so if you are watching, you can chat live with us and ask your questions in the chat box. You're invited also to share your nuggets of wisdom and fun quips using the Rethinking Recruiting hashtag on Twitter. That's the # Rethinking Recruiting. We'll also be sharing a copy of the slide deck and a recorded video of this fireside chat. The CoMeet team will be sending these out to you in the next 2 business days. One of the biggest challenges for the talent acquisition team that's small to medium sized today is the ability to scale and grow quickly to meet the business demand needs. This challenge becomes even more arduous when companies are working, collaborating, and supporting the global business, which is what we are talking about today. I'm excited to introduce our featured speakers. They are 2 global talent acquisition leaders from Sisense. This business analytics software company grew their headcount by more than 200% in 12 months. Joining us today is Rachel Kammerling. She is a talent acquisition manager for Sisense based in Israel. Her career has been focused on helping a number of well-known and emerging technology companies prior to Sisense, including EMC and Red Hat, scale their recruiting and hiring efforts. Mariah Elliott is the talent acquisition manager also at Sisense. She's based in New York and has focused her career on technology recruitment and has a special superpower of finding exceptional talent for fast-growing companies. I want to thank both Rachel and Mariah so much for sharing their stories, and we will have time for questions in the last 5 minutes at the end. But let me go ahead and introduce to you Mariah and Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everyone. The Sisense Story, a hyper-growth journey. Sisense started in the mid-2000s as nothing more than an idea. The idea that data analytics can be made fluent, fast, and easily available to all business users. The idea came to our founders while still in college and followed them to several garage-style offices in the years following college, in a true startup fashion. Fast forward 10 years to Sisense's first commercial release, followed by some major investment and the debut of our CEO, Amir Orad. There was no denying Sisense was about to take off. Amir Orad, CEO and a serial entrepreneur, came on board with the specific goal in mind, and that was to make Sisense the next unicorn company, and fast. Like any successful CEO, Amir knew one of the key drivers to success would be the people. He had to bring the right people to get the job done.
And so, as Rachel just mentioned, bringing the right people to get the job done, that's where Rachel and I came in. So Rachel joined in October 2015 to scale the Israel office. I joined shortly after to scale the US, and the goal was to scale the business fast and effectively. With no time to spare, like all startups, this task was due yesterday. We knew we needed to build a machine and we needed to build it quick. So we started to think, what do we need to get this job done? And we knew we needed a foundation that owned our entire recruitment process. When looking at this one-stop shop for a foundation, we thought, what do we need? We need something that's easy to implement and use, something that will get buy-in from managers, can deploy and adopt quickly. We needed something that was going to save us time without affecting quality, something that would facilitate collaboration and communication, a system that had easy integrations with all our other systems. And we needed a system that supported our high volume. Again, it was just Rachel in Israel and just myself in the US. So something that supported high volume and a low capacity, something that allowed us to have a structured process, but was agile enough to support the never-ending changes in this hyper-growth mode. Moreover, we even knew that we needed to be data-driven. So we're a data company, and you can't get anything done without having the data to back it up. And we needed a strong partnership. With the limited capacity that Racheli and I had, we knew that the partnership with these systems would be really the key to our success. I know that's a lot to ask for, especially when you're looking at systems. So once we've laid the foundation, we started a partnership, and we realized that it's all about customization and agility. The structured agility comes from really considering all steps. So from the very moment that you get a position, thinking about the job descriptions, the posting, sourcing, having those evaluations, being able to have a centralized place of communication and visibility for everybody to kind of go to, that really saves you time as a talent acquisition manager, as a recruiter, because you're eliminating all that time of follow-up emails. It's one location, everybody's coming in and seeing where the process is. And we were able to save time with really, really great integrations with all our job boards, HRIS systems, sourcing sites, internal systems, and a lot more. One of the things that I really liked about the systems that we put in place, as agile and communicative as they were, we had the ability to create permissions. So whether they were permissions for certain positions that were discrete, or we wanted to get a lot of people involved in the hiring process. So some hiring managers or some interviewers had specific positions that would not allow them to see, salary ranges or anything that we wanted to kind of set clear. HR managers, hiring managers are super independent in this system. It saves us a lot of time, and we didn't need any help from IT. So very similar to Sisense product, we are able to kind of make all these customizations without going to IT and without having, a lot of back-end work. In addition to that, one of the biggest things that we needed somebody to champion the process with the hiring managers. It wasn't easy to adapt, and we knew that as talent acquisition managers, we had to position it to our hiring managers as a business case, and really show them, what's in it for you, and why they should use the system.
What's in it for me? So this is my own story. As the first recruiter at Sisense, the assignment I faced wasn't an easy one. Aside from streamlining all processes, I need to get the hiring manager's engagement. I worked with managers from all levels and all departments. Most of them make it clear from the beginning, we are not going to cooperate regarding adding another system. But this role that I had wasn't like other roles I had in the past. This was just me, and I needed to move fast to work as effectively as possible. So I managed them into the system and showed them the business case. What was what's in it for me or for you? In no time, they were independent in the system. This was really in a no time. Documenting, interviewing notes, scheduling interviews, and essentially owning their own processes. They were more involved in every hire they were bringing in and reduced the time of hire significantly. Meanwhile, Mariah was mirroring in the NYC. Another example is about partnerships. Partnerships goes more than just with the hiring managers. We realized that we needed to create a real partnerships also between Sisense and the ATS. We continued to grow and brought on another member to our talent team, Lechet Arieli. Among others, in time, Lechet became our ATS champion that Mariah was just mentioning. She managed the implementation, all issues and customization in the system, made all requests and technical inquiries, and was always a step ahead with new ways to improve our work, candidate experience, and to reduce the time to hire, essentially becoming a design partner and creating a true Sisense hiring technique.
As Tel Aviv was growing and going through these growing pains, New York was experiencing pretty much the same thing and having the same plan of action. putting aside, the structured agility for the entire process, we wanted to make sure that we got buy-in from our management, and we were thinking, what's the one thing that they're going to respond to? And that's data. Again, we're a data company, and as long as you show them the data, then I think everything will be okay. So our growth began to be a bit more structured and planned than it had been in the past. Our hiring needed to become more proactive than reactive. And with the help of our ATS, I was able to build an actual formula that would accommodate our future hiring needs. So we got data insights, put in a plan of action, and got results. A good example is something that we did more recently, where I was given a request to hire about 10 sales reps in one quarter. Without overcommitting, I knew I had to give some data to support this and how we would go about it, if it was even possible. After using our ATS for a little over a year, I was able to go to the system, pull reports on how many resumes I needed to see per each hire, how long the interview process typically took, and what are the main sources. By pulling this information, I was able to give the business a real plan of action and what recruitment needed to meet these goals. I was able to say, in order to make 10 hires, we need X amount of resumes. We need to bring on these sources, and this is the capacity that we need, and really build out a plan. Oh, sorry, guys. So how do you kind of, put together all the pieces of what we went through in this, hyper growth mode? The first thing is building a foundation. You want to make sure that you have systems and a strong foundation that supports your business needs and what it is that your hiring managers are looking for. You also want to make sure that there's structure, that the process is collaborative, and that there's agility to the process. We want it to be structured, but we also know that things move really, really quickly in a startup, and we need to be able to adapt and change just as quickly. And then that endless customization, always being able to, customize and take hiring and the entire formula one step ahead, whether it be with reporting or with evaluations, that continuous customization as our needs are changing. And this, just to kind of break off, this is one of my favorite quotes because I think it really speaks well to startups. And it's move fast and break things. Unless you're breaking stuff, you're not moving fast enough. I know that's something Rachel and I both experienced here at Sisense, and most people do in startups. When you're moving quickly, you break things, you fail a little bit. But if you have all the things that we mentioned, you should have a good formula for success.
Awesome. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Rachel and Mariah. We have time for a few questions, so why don't we go ahead. If you see the Q&A section here in the chat box, just go ahead and post your questions here, and then I will be sending over those unfiltered, unplanned, in real time over to Mariah and Rachel for you. So we had a question come in a little bit earlier in the presentation, and this one is for both of you, actually. How is hiring different from Israel versus North America? Rachel, do you want to start?
Yes, thank you. So there are cultural differences in the way that talent acquisition is viewed, which means in Israel, talent acquisition is a trusted partner who is heavily involved in the personality assessments and culture fit. Whereas in the US, historically, talent acquisition has been more like a facilitator and a screener before getting to the hiring managers. Mariah?
We feel pretty strongly about that true business partnership between talent acquisition and hiring managers. And it's something that we're educating and working closely with our managers to get that nature of the relationship. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen this in the US. Talent acquisition is moving to more of that business partnership, but it's a journey.
So we have another question that came in, and then I have a follow-up to this one as well. What type of recruiting metrics are most important to you? Mariah, do you want to talk a little bit more about this?
Sure, sure. So as far as recruiting metrics, one of the things that I think is really important is time to hire. So when you're hiring so quickly and you're in this hypergrowth mode and you're doubling in size, you want to see how long it actually takes you to hire these people so that you can plan ahead. We do this, quarterly. We look at how long the interview process is, what sources are we using, what our growth rate is. But my favorite is always time to hire.
Here's a follow-up question, and I would be interested in like overall and then maybe broken out between Israel versus North America. What is your biggest source of hire? Recruiters, LinkedIn, other job boards, etc. This question says.
Well, in Israel, those are referrals. And then our website, because our brand is pretty much strong and it become more and more strong from month to month. It's amazing. So those are the most major sources that we're using. We almost don't use hiring agencies and headhunters and succeed to recruit.
Yeah. And I would say the U.S. is pretty much the same. I think employee referrals are, just a tad bit higher in Israel. But one of the things that makes employee referrals such a high source is we've made it super easy to submit referrals through the system. So it's not, our employees sending us an email, here's my friend, they're looking, they can share it on social media, they can share it on their Facebook, on their LinkedIn, and get credit for anybody who clicks through that link. So it's definitely a booster to those employee referrals. Plus our people love working here, so.
How do you get team members to accept the referral program? Like, what is the secret sauce to getting adoption?
Well, I think the easiness of use of the system, that they really love working here and would like their friends to join and be part of their day-to-day.
Absolutely. I agree with Rachel. Ease of use and just, love the fact that they love working here.
Let's talk a little bit more about reporting and KPIs. How often are you looking at those? And then how are you communicating them to your leadership team and your hiring managers?
Sure. So reporting and KPIs, we typically look at them quarterly as kind of like a whole. I look at them, depending on the position, weekly within, our HR team. And I'll give a quick little snippet here of something that we were able to do with the reporting. And it's more for future reference in our ATS, where we were able to kind of put in scores for all the people that we were interviewing for sales, for example, and then rate them on different levels. And the idea is that in about a year or so, when we have enough data to back it up, to go back and do a regression and see if there's some type of correlation between, high scores in a certain area to their actual success. So we're not there yet, but it's those type of insights that we're able to build within the system that's going to help us hire better in the future.
So we have another question, and this one's from Edward. Thank you, Edward, for sending your question. And this one I really love. How do you build a trusting relationship with a hiring manager when you have teams split between the U.S. and Israel?
Yeah, sure. So that's an amazing question. I will say we are probably the most over-communicated company ever. The amount of emails that I'm CC'd on is crazy. But I think, going back to being that trusted advisor and going back to what Rachel was talking about earlier, you have to show them what's in it for them. And Rachel was able to show them very, very early on that what may have took them a long hiring process, by them adopting to the system and adopting to that communication, they've shortened their process in, a significant amount of time. So we have to show them what's in it for them, and it's easy. It's really, really easy to adopt. So.
Excellent. So here's another question that came in. Rachel, you talked earlier about failing fast. Can you talk about one failure that you learned a great deal from?
Yeah, I have a great example. This is an insight we learned from our hiring process. Quite early, we noticed we have candidates who are withdrawing at a specific point in the process. This stage was the assignment. In reviewing ways how to address it, we put the agility to the test and started to give assignment only after on-site interviews. We discovered that it is highly important that candidates will visit our sites, will have face-to-face with the hiring manager, be able to see what's going on in our offices, and then the engagement was high, and of course, we were able to generate a better candidate experience.
Excellent. So guys, I just want to remind you that we have a few more minutes left, so you can go ahead and submit more questions, and I will be asking Rachel and Mariah live. While we're waiting for more questions from you, I do have another question that's came in, and this one is about customization, which I know, Rachel, that you talked about regarding recruiting technology. How involved is your IT department with the actual implementation of your ATS and recruiting tech?
Okay, so in the implementation, there was some involvement, but on the ongoing, there is almost none. Not with the AT and not also with our partner ATS, because almost everything you can do with one click. For instance, to switch steps in workflows, add or edit processes, add or remove members of hiring teams. Of course, not mentioning internal sourcing with many filters that can be explored, that you can play with, that makes our life much easier.
Great. I have a question for you, Mariah, and this is a selfish question because I'm always looking at salespeople, and I feel like technical roles are the biggest challenge. So do you have any tips for hiring salespeople in New York?
I mean, it's a tough one, right? Because New York is oversaturated. There's a ton of different companies that a salesperson, a successful salesperson can go to. And I would say the tip is really figure out what it is that makes somebody successful at your company. And every company is different. I know, for example, at Sisense, we need, people who are very consultative, and it's a complex software. So when I worked with the hiring managers on creating that report of, how do we score these people, we looked at our top performing salespeople and said, what do they have? Is it motivation? Is it drive? Are they, athletes even? And those are the kind of intangibles that you have to think of when hiring salespeople. I think it's different for every company, so you got to figure out first what works for your company, and then break it down, and then figure out how are you going to ask questions in the interview process to measure this.
Excellent. Here's another question, and it's about your applicant tracking system. So who are you using for your applicant tracking system right now?
Commit.
Commit. And how long have you been using them?
Well, since March 2016.
Okay. And how many hires have you guys made between kind of that point and present day? Just kind of a rough number.
Wow. Rachel?
About 200 almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot.
Can I just add, before when Rachel was talking about the IT involvement, that was a big thing for us in choosing the ATS. I'm not sure how much you guys know about Sisense, but the whole idea behind Sisense software is that it's for the end user. The end user can do all of it. There's little to no involvement with IT. So when we found an ATS that was going to give us that same idea of, reporting and everything should be with the user, that was a big sell for us.
Yeah, we were thrilled. We were so excited.
So we have a couple more questions that have come in, and we're hitting up on the top of the hour here. What are the biggest frustration that you've encountered when scaling or growing too quickly?
Mariah?
What the biggest? There's a bunch. I think it's, you have to do it. Our CEO always says we're flying the plane and still building it, right? So you have to think of things like we're going full force and we're still building processes. So there's a lot of things that break within the process, and I think it's being able to kind of manage those, mini failures throughout, but still bring the right people. And I think that's what's made us successful, is that even if a process takes too long, even if we need to change it because we see, people are dropping out at an assignment, let's rethink it, let's customize it differently. We'll take that time and do that, because hiring the right people is more important than hiring fast. And you have to get to that realization.
Excellent. Okay, here's our final question. Let's talk about the structure of your HR team. How is that divided up? How many recruiters do you have, HR, for your global business?
So we have our VP, and beneath there are business partners, 2 business partners and 1 director here, which is based here in Israel. Mariah is the only talent acquisition right now, and she has quite a lot to handle on her plate.
But I'm looking for another recruiter. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah. So spread the word for us.
Yeah.
In Israel, there is myself, and there is another HR generalist, which is assisting in some of the assignment. This is pretty much it.
That's a lot of
Lean.
people. Yeah, but not really when you think about how quickly you guys have grown.
It's not a lot of people in recruitment, but I will say the one thing I think that has made us successful is that our CEO, our management, our global VP of HR, our HR director in Israel, they know how important hiring is to the overall success of the company. So that's, at least for me, I can't speak for Rachali or Rachel, but, I can say for me, that's what's kept me here, through the hecticness, because there's really value in hiring the right people.
I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys, Mariah and Rachel, for taking your time today to talk with us about how Sisense has scaled and hired quickly. I would ask that you connect with them over on LinkedIn, and then you guys can continue the conversation offline, and maybe send a recruiter over Mariah's way for sure.
Yes, please.
The CoMeet team will be sharing a copy of the slides with you from this fireside chat, along with a copy of the recording from this presentation via email by the end of the week. So I want to thank again Mariah and Rachel for taking the time, and then you for making this a lot of fun and interactive. This was our first Rethinking Recruiting Fireside Chat powered by the folks at CoMeet. I welcome any feedback, suggestions, or recommendations or nominations for future Fireside Chat guests. So thanks for taking the time, guys, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.